All right, today we are going to unpack the three fundamental laws that literally govern everything that moves. I'm talking about planets, stars, even the phone you might be holding right now. These are Newton's laws of motion, and believe me, they are the absolute bedrock of classical physics. So, to get our heads in the right space, let me ask you a question. What in the world could a huge rocket, just kind of coasting through deep space, have in common with a little hockey puck gliding across perfectly smooth ice? I know, it sounds random, right? But the answer, well, it gets right to the heart of Newton's very first law, which, honestly, can be a little counterintuitive at first. That little connection between the rocket and the puck. That's the key that unlocks the first secret of motion. So let's jump in and unravel these three really elegant laws that give us the power to describe and even predict the motion of pretty much everything around us. But first, we gotta talk about something important. Our own intuition, our gut feelings about how things move. Because we live in a world that's full of friction and air resistance, our everyday instincts they can actually be pretty wrong when it comes to the deep down physics of it all. Yeah, in fact, there's this great research by Derek Muller that highlights some of the most common misconceptions students have. And that top one on the list, it's a huge one. It's the idea that you have to keep pushing on something to keep it moving at a constant speed. And look, it makes sense, right? Our daily experience tells us this is true. You stop pedaling your bike, you slow down. But as we're about to see with Newton's first law, that's not the whole story, not even close. Okay, so let's tackle that misconception head on with law number one. We're talking about the law of inertia, and I promise you, getting this one down is a total game changer. So here it is, the official definition. But here's the deal, really. Objects just want to keep doing whatever they're already doing. Seriously, if an object is sitting still, it's gonna stay still. If it's moving, it's gonna keep moving in a perfectly straight line at the exact same speed forever. Unless, and this is the big catch, unless some outside unbalanced force comes along and messes things up. That stubbornness, that resistance to change, that's what we call inertia. So this is the really crucial part. An object doesn't need a constant push to keep moving. It only needs a push to change how it's moving, to speed up, slow down, or make a turn. So look at this car. If that forward push from the engine was exactly equal to the backward drag from friction and air resistance, guess what? The car wouldn't stop. Nope, it would just keep cruising along at a perfectly constant speed. That's inertia in action. Okay, so that leads to the next logical question, right? What happens when an unbalanced force does show up? How much does the object's motion actually change? Well, that is exactly what Newton's second law tells us. And this is hands down one of the most important equations in all of science. F equals ma. It's so simple, but this little equation connects everything. Basically, it says that how much an object accelerates, how much its motion changes, depends on two things. First, the force you apply to it. The harder you push, the more it accelerates. Makes sense. But it's also about its mass. The heavier it is, the less it accelerates for the same push. More force, more go. More mass, more whoa, slow down. Now, to actually use this law to solve problems, physicists have this really handy step-by-step strategy, like this one you see here. First, you just figure out what's going on. What are the key principles? Then you sketch it out, and you isolate the one object you care about. That's where you draw what's called a free body diagram, which is just a fancy way of saying a simple picture with arrows showing all the forces pushing and pulling on your object. And then the final step, you just plug it all into F equals ma and solve. It's an amazing toolkit for breaking down any motion problem. And you've actually felt this law in action, I guarantee it. Just think about being in an elevator. When it starts going up, you feel heavier for a second, right? Why is that? Well, to get you accelerating upwards, the floor has to push on your feet with a force that's stronger than your own weight. If you were standing on a scale, you'd literally see the number go up for a moment. That extra push is the F in the equation, causing your body's mass to accelerate, the A. All right, let's move on to the third law. This is probably the most famous one, and honestly, maybe the most misunderstood. What it reveals is this really beautiful, deep symmetry in the universe. It turns out forces never, ever act alone. You've all heard it. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. But here is the absolute key to understanding this. Forces are always an interaction between two different objects. You can't just have a push. You have to have a push and something that's being pushed back on. Always. And once you start looking, you see these action-reaction pairs absolutely everywhere. Think about it. Your car moves forward because its tires are pushing the road backward. In return, the road pushes the tires and the whole car forward. When you swim, you're pushing water backward with your hands and the water pushes you forward. It is happening constantly in everything that moves. But wait, this leads to a classic physics puzzle. When a cannon fires, it pushes on the cannonball with a massive force. Newton's third law tells us the cannonball pushes back on the cannon with an exactly equal and opposite force. So, if the forces are perfectly equal, how come the little cannonball goes flying hundreds of meters, while the giant cannon just kind of rolls back a tiny bit? And the answer beautifully ties everything together. It brings us right back to the second law, F equals ma. The forces are identical, yes, but the masses are completely different. So that big force acting on the tiny mass of the cannonball creates a huge acceleration. But that very same force acting on the enormous mass of the cannon, it only produces a tiny little acceleration. See? It's the second and third laws working together perfectly. Okay, let's use that same logic to solve another famous paradox, one that has confused physics students for literally centuries: the horse and the cart. So a horse pulls a cart forward. According to Newton's third law, the cart must be pulling the horse backward with an equal and opposite force. So if those forces are equal and opposite, how does anything move? It sounds like they should be locked in a permanent tug-of-war, stuck in place forever. The solution to this puzzle is so clever. The trick is all about defining what you're looking at, what physicists call your system. The pull between the horse and the cart, that's an internal force. It's happening inside the horse and cart system. And yeah, those two forces cancel each other out. But to get the whole system to move, you need an external force, something from the outside. And where does that come from? The horse's hooves pushing against the ground. The ground pushes back on the horse, and that's the unbalanced external force that gets the whole show moving down the road. And believe it or not, the same logic solves one final puzzle. When you jump up, gravity is pulling you down, right? Well, Newton tells us that you are also pulling the Earth up towards you with the exact same amount of force. So, why don't you see the entire planet accelerating up to meet you? Well, it's the exact same reason as the cannon in the cannonball. The Earth's mass is just so incredibly, ridiculously enormous that your tiny pull creates an acceleration so small it's basically zero. But here's the wild part. According to the laws of physics, it is there. A tiny, unnoticeable reaction from the entire planet to your every single move.